introducing the candidates, or the nominees for this. The first nominee I would like to recognize is Allison Morin. If Allison is here, would you please come up? Allison is a 5-year-old kindergartner from here in Missoula. She is a very... Allison is very empathetic and has a mature sense of caring. She shows this every day by doing things like playing with somebody who's lonely on the playground, or cracking a joke to help cheer up a family member who is sad. A good story about Allison is one day her class was doing an activity in which you were supposed to share something naughty that one had done at home, but Allison couldn't think of anything that she'd done while she was at home. So the teacher told her to just make something up. This was difficult for Allison because just the idea of having to lie and make something up was hard. She is, just at 5 years old, she has participated in 2 Out of the Darkness community walks to help raise awareness for suicide prevention. She has also volunteered to pass out gun locks at the Missoula Gun Show, and she has annually helped out on highway cleanups since she's been able to walk. She's an extremely non-judgmental and caring person and looks to resolve any problem she runs into. She truly spreads love everywhere she goes. Up next, I'd like to introduce Birch Banks. If Birch is here, would you please come up? Birch is a freshman from Hellgate High School. He's a young man who shows leadership and inclusion and kindness every day. He's a member of the Five Valleys Land Trust Board, and he's a leader in band, cross-country, drama, and speech and debate. He is as an eighth grader, he went on an ecology project internationally to Mexico, where he embraced friendships with Mexican students. He read a poem that he wrote himself at the 2017 Women's March in Helena. He's attended the United Worlds College program in New Mexico, and he's even spoke about peace on the Mont Blanc podcast. He always leads by an example and seeks to spread kindness and embrace new relationships wherever he goes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kate Schoik, and I was also on the selection committee for the Youth Peacemaker Award, and I would like to call up the Soap Girls. The Soap Girls. So SOAP, if you didn't know, stands for Save Our Amazing Planet, and the group consists of Ella DeGrandpré, Ren Sillenberg, Madeline Swanberg, and Leah Samuels, who looks like she wasn't able to make it today. So SOAP started about 7 years ago, and the group focuses on, as listed on their website, climate change, saving animals in wild places, and improving quality of life for people who struggle. They do a lot of super cool activities, one being a summer camp for younger kids, in which all the money raised goes back to the community in one form or another. As somebody who also has gone to school with these girls for some years, I can say that they truly take what they represent into all aspects of their lives. They're involved in clubs dedicated to volunteer work and saving the environment, and you will never catch any of them with a non-biodegradable plastic bag in their lunch. These fantastic 4 girls are truly deserving of their nomination.
Good afternoon, my name is Soma Ahrens, and I participated too in the selection process for the Youth Peacemaker Award. I'm honored today to recognize a group of nominees who have shown an immense commitment to nonviolence and social justice in our community. These young activists organized both the school walkouts and the Missoula March for Our Lives that occurred in the past few months. calling for stricter gun laws, school protection, as well as commemorating the victims of school shootings. These students have shown courage, strength, and enthusiasm in their efforts towards making a change for greater nonviolence. The Peace Center commends their actions and encourages them to continue their pursuit of peace. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Sylvia Lucino, Matthew Knight, and anyone else I might have missed up here.
Okay. My name is Noah George, and I was slightly late to the decision committee, and I'm slightly late to this, so I'm assessor. I'd like to start this little speech with a compliment, per usual. I just wanted to levy my thanks among all the candidates who are here with us today for making this so incredibly easy. We just get to stand up here smiling as we recount what all of you did. So thank you very much for making this easy for us. I'm going to be speaking about Margarita Growing Thunder and her fight for justice, which was incredible to read and learn about. Growing Thunder is a freshman here at the University of Montana, and she's a founder of Save Our Sisters, MMIW, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, a group she created to raise awareness on this topic to people in the U.S. and Canada. She has led an 80-mile walk with around 20 other people through the Flathead Reservation, ending her walk in Arlene on March 28th of 2018. She dedicated this walk performed for the second year in a row to the thousands of missing women in the U.S. and Canada. She began the MMIW project during her senior year at Polson High School and decided to hand sew a new ribbon skirt or dress each night and wear it to school the very next day in order to honor the missing or murdered Indigenous woman, of whom Growing Thunder's mother has a sister and an aunt who were murdered. She even made her own prom dress, wearing a traditional pair of moccasins onto the dance floor. Growing Thunder is a studying art and pre-medicine major here at the UM and continues to wear ribbon skirts and dresses to class. She's truly a symbol of passion for her cause, has dedicated countless hours to her cause. She hopes to one day turn the project into a non-profit to raise funds for families of the missing and murdered Indigenous women. Thank you, Margarita. If you're here, please join us. I don't think I saw you in the audience, so thank you.
We have a certificate to give to each of the nominees today to honor their nomination. You know, peacemakers do not happen overnight. They just don't grow as peacemakers. They're nurtured by a family and a community and actions that they keep growing and learning through. So we want to honor and recognize all of these young peacemakers. So one more round of applause for all of them. While I'm giving out the award, I'm going to bring up Father Jim Hogan, who will make the award of the Father Jim Hogan Peace Award to one of these nominees. It was a very, very difficult selection, but Father Jim Hogan started this Search for Peace Award after 9/11, and we are honored to be able to continue it. So, Father Jim Hogan.
Well, I'm very Irish, and I also very easily cry, and I got tears in my eyes as each of you were introduced. And Allison, these other people are bold, and you're certainly the hope for the future of all of us. And I'm so touched by what you've done and been here. And this Peace Award was in response to my being named the Jeanette Rankin Peacemaker of the Year, I think it was in 2000. And I thought, man, I have to do something. So the same, you're already doing, but keep doing. That's all I would encourage you. Keep doing. with young people like you, the world is going to be better. So, my task is to introduce who wins the Volunteer Nobel Peace Award. And I was with the students when they did the selection. Not an easy task, right?
No.
Very hard. But they did choose 4 outstanding women. Were known as the Soap Girls. And I said, what's the deal on that? Where'd that name come from? Save our amazing planet. And you are. So, I think I'm going to call, how are we doing this? I forgot already. What I'm going to do is put a medallion around each of you and give one of you a medallion to take to your 4th partner. And then also to give you a check, which you can use as you wish. And it's one check that you figure out with. It's for $500. And you're very touching.
So, Elder Grand Prix. Ren Sullivan. Madeline Songberg. And the 4th one is for Leah Santos.
Thank you all. So we're going to do this again next year, so maybe your nomination will come back, or maybe you will have more nominations to make the search committee's work a little more difficult. So right now, let us welcome and hear from a gift of music for Steve and for the young people from the Missoula Gay Men's Chorus.
You have always been there. they still say I love you. I'm glad you carry on. No matter what the future brings, my past I will moonlight and love songs never out of date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate. Woman or man, each one must have his mate that no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die, do or die. The world will always welcome lovers. The world will always welcome lovers. The world will always welcome lovers. As time goes, as time goes by.
I understand that Marita Growing Thunder just arrived, so if I could ask you to come forward, please. We would like to give you an award and just to recognize you for your great work and dedication. Oh, some great inspiration already. We're not even to the main event yet. Thank you to the Gay Men's Chorus. You guys always thrill us. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your gift of music. And again, for all of the young people, Marita, the Soap Girls, Allison Birch, and all the folks from Hellgate and the other schools. Just wow, right? Thank you. Back in 1986, several women in this community got together to try to do something in the world with what they knew to do, and that was make quilts. That's what they knew to do, that's what they enjoyed doing, is what they did together. And so they got together to make quilts. And they decided to give one to Flo Chesson, who was doing some great work in this community to pull peacemakers together and spread some hope and peace and goodwill in the world. So they gave it to her. And it felt good. They recognized the affirmation that it can be to reward someone for work like that. And so they decided to make a tradition of it. So every year for the last 32 years, we have added another peacemaker to the list that started with Flo Chesson. The Peace Center is very happy to be part of this. We weren't part of it in the beginning, but you know, this is a way we award and honor local heroes. So what the Peace Center is about is trying to figure out a way that we dialogue together and learn about each other and connect with each other and tell the stories of people doing great work and in the world. And this is sort of our signature event to do that. This is one of the ways that we do that best of all. Steve is our 32nd Peacemaker, Steve MacArthur. He'll smile later on. He joins an incredible list of other people that you will meet later in the program. So I'd like at this point to ask the members of the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center Coordinating Council that are present to please stand. These folks, their support and guidance keep us going through the years, oversee and plan for the types of activities and events that we do, and keep our organization working for peace strong and thriving. So I'd like to thank all of them. We as a group believe that peacemaking is about finding that place in the middle where people can learn to respect each other and listen to each other and kind of come together to meet in the middle. So if that's something that appeals to you, if you are of that like mind, we'd love to have you join our group. We're always looking for folks that are wanting to be part of that experience and working with us. So let one of us know if you're interested in doing that. Last fall, the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center Coordinating Council and the members of the Missoula Peace Quilters got together and made a selection, reviewed the nominations from the names of people that you all sent in, and made a decision and chose Steve MacArthur. We look for someone who not only does an outstanding activity or event, a one-time thing, but we look for people who walk the walk, who bring it into their daily lives, personally, professionally, in all aspects of what they do. And Steve walks that walk like very few other people, I think, and I know you'll agree with me. This morning, as I was running, I looked down and every stone on the Kim Williams Trail looked like a heart to me. You know, you can't stop and pick up every one like that. It defeats the purpose, but I did pick up one because I thought it was a sign, because that is Steve Hart. If you've ever seen him, he does this a lot, right? He brings heart to all of us. He brings heart to our world. He brings heart to his work in the world. And so I'm going to put this in the basket for him because it is the only one that I could stop and pick up. It's not the most perfect one, but it's still heart. Respect, openness, cooperation, being open to connect with everybody he meets. Those are the things that kind of come to mind when I think about Steve. And not just like-minded friends and people who think like him. He believes in the value of connection and the idea that we learn from each other, from every connection, every person, every interaction. Not too long ago, he met someone who was not too sure about being associated with the Peace Center. Steve stayed in that conversation, not to convince him to be associated with the Peace Center, but to learn about him and his values and his beliefs and what he held dear in his heart. He just wanted to connect. He saw the importance of connecting with him and with everybody that he meets, that place in the middle where learning can flourish. There is no exercise better for the heart than reaching down and lifting people up. And that is what Steve does every day. How many of us have been lifted up by Steve? Yeah. Turn around, Steve. He's always available to help someone through a rough patch, whether that's discouragement or interpersonal misunderstanding or a crisis of purpose or path. Steve listens, he understands, and he lifts us up. He's consulted with Fortune 500 companies all around the world to lift them up so that their leadership is more respectful, their teams work better together, and they continuously improve their work together as people. And he's taught many people around the world to understand themselves and each other better. How many of you know your Myers-Briggs type? Not too many hands. Steve, your work is not done yet.
It's only a month.
Some work to be done, okay? Steve's a great citizen. Underneath it all, he is a great citizen. Every election, every petition, every progressive issue that stands to lift people up and bring us closer to justice, to equality, to peace, he's on it. He's a great steward of our earth, and he walks the walk like few others. Now, peace is both an internal, personal journey, as well as it is outward work in the world. And Steve is a great example of that dichotomy as well. He, in addition to being a good citizen of the world, he works on himself, and he takes care of himself. He's a kind of a model, role model in that way. The other day, he recited a quote that was meaningful to him. It's an E.B. White quote. I arise in the morning, torn between a desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan my day. Torn between a desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. I don't think Steve has any trouble planning his day. He enjoys it very much because he knows that the world changes when we pay attention and connect and appreciate and love it. And he enjoys it because he knows that being engaged in it and working in it and connecting with it is a way to be joyful and lift himself up and all of us. He also fits this other E.B. White quote that I found. One of the most time-consuming things we can do is to have an enemy. And Steve has way better ways to waste time than having enemies. Thank you, Steve, for lifting us up, for teaching us to treasure the world, the planet, to teaching us to truly enjoy life, bringing hope to all of these people and many beyond in Montana and Tennessee and things in between, to value the connections and the conversations we have with each other, and to truly look below the surface and see things, see the value in each person with compassion and love. Thank you. I've invited some people close to Steve to tell you a little bit more about him. After that, I think the quilters will unveil this beautiful quilt that they've made that we've all been waiting to see. But first, I'd like to ask Tom King and Peter Schober.
I can speak for Peter as well. We are blessed to be a friend of Steve's, which is a very inclusive club, if you all know. A very big club. You must become like a child to enter the realm of God. And that's how I've experienced Steve. Overflowing with the spirit of a kid exuberant, infectious, inclusive, overflowing with the love of life, not wanting to miss any of it. Like you always say, I feel like a kid in a candy store. And also not wanting anyone else to miss out on that candy store. In fact, what comes to mind when I'm with Steve and he talks about what he's been doing or soon to do is that comic strip, Family Circle, where the kid tracks all over town doing a dozen or more things a day. For Steve, it would be something like spent the night at the church with Family Promise, homeless families, then to a meeting or two, like 360 or UCC Green Team, then petitions or letters to Senator Daines or someone else, then lunch with some friend, acquaintance, or stranger in some hard or wonderful place in their life, or to plan a hike or a float or some other adventure, then a meeting at the Peace Center, or work in his garden, or making jam to give away, or choir practice, evening with friends to a brew fest, more than one, or music at the Top Hat, or a film festival, usually with free tickets. And then back home, dreaming of his Tennessee retreat or upcoming team building he'd be leading with some business or nonprofit, or some other adventure or cause to give himself to, wondering whether he'd done enough. And the next day, a dozen or more things to do and enjoy. Steve, a child of God, a lover of life, inside and out, with no one left out. So I have a couple of sentences from the men's group that we're part of. This is from John. In cobbling together some words about Steve MacArthur, two words make me smile: Myers and Briggs. Then the word acronym comes to mind. Steve uses lots of acronyms, such as MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, leading to ENTJ, ISFJ, and others. It's an inside joke, I guess. This has been a focus in Steve's consulting work. This personality evaluation helps folks learn how to get along better with other many types of human organizations through understanding. Interestingly, Myers and Briggs are a mother and daughter team, family. Family, and by extension, friends, is something core and very extremely important to Steve. Out of all the acronyms or letters, the ones I would choose for Steve are these: LOVE. And from Jay, who says, turning a phrase or giving accolades giving accolades, no matter how well deserved, is not my forte. But when I think of Steve, my thoughts are of a man motivated and directed by love. He arrives at a room of people, and his infectious desire to know everyone produces what we all wish for: community. And then from Wayne, Steve is a relentless force for good. He gives his everything and then some. He will walk into any room, meet any suffering soul, and find the dignity in any person. He cares deeply about the world for us and for the children of our future. Unlike so many of us, his caring fully guides the way he lives his life. We are all the beneficiaries of his relentless good.
I'm honored and I'm grateful to be up here to say some words about Steve, my brother. I really can't categorize this guy. I have thought a lot about him, thinking about today, and I came to the conclusion that I sense that he is a bit of a freak of nature. Steve has a freakish amount of energy. There's not a gathering in the world that he wouldn't want to go to. Steve has this real goofy goodness to him. The image that came up for me in thinking about Steve is one of the actor Will Ferrell. He was in that great Christmas classic, The Elf. And he's an older guy that just has this incredible energy and runs around as an emissary of Santa Claus, who he believes in. And I really wish I could have gotten an outfit and dressed him up in it, because he would actually love it. But the character that Will Ferrell portrayed would just simply charge through life, believing in people and simply doing good. He possesses, as Tom said, a relentless joy of life. He's always optimistic. And by that and through that, he lifts all of us up and takes us to a better place. It's infectious and it's very real and very important. I had a mentor when I went to seminary, a wonderful theologian whose name was Robert McAfee Brown. And he would say, if we don't do the work of justice and peace with a measure of joy, we probably should not be doing it. Steve reminds all of us of that all the time. I see Steve as a practitioner of what is sometimes called Jesus' third way. Beyond the first ways of fighting or fleeing, there is the nonviolent embrace of our enemy. Steve has a gift for that. And I think it's the one thing that can change this world. I've been fortunate to share many journeys with Steve over the years. The backcountry trails of Montana, trips to different places protesting this or that, the borderlands of Mexico, the inner roads of silence and contemplative practice. And with them all, he carried his energy and his spirit and his commitment. There are so many qualities to commend, but the one I place above all others and am able to say without hesitation or without any doubt is that Steve has been our friend. He has stood by us, always. He has stood by our community, always. He has stood up for peace with his boundless energy, some would say freakish energy, and with his endless hope. And to that I can only, I think, say two things. Well done, good and faithful servant. And thank you.
Invite us to hear from Catherine and Jan MacArthur.
So I know everybody's excited because you really get to hear about Steve now. But honestly, when Catherine and I were asked to share a few thoughts with you about Steve, our honoree, I really, just to be objective, had to take that word, peacemaker, take it in for a while and just be with it and reflect upon it. Is Steve a peacemaker? I think we use the word peacemaker very easily and frequently. But I think sometimes we use it when we actually mean peace talker,
Peace wisher,
peace hoper,
peace dreamer.
and yes, even peace lover. And Steve is all of these pieces of peace. They're all important. However, being a peacemaker, as Peter and Tom and Betsy have all just expressed, being a peacemaker implies action. A peacemaker is one who actively pursues peace. As I look at Steve through this filter of action, another word that comes up for me is dharma, the ancient and potent Sanskrit word that refers to one's sacred duty or purpose. For Steve, I believe that his quest, his sacred purpose, his true dharma, is to utterly and completely embody his own unique and at times eccentric approach to making peace. Although Steve is clearly a social, political, and environmental activist, it is his valuing and pursuit of right relationships in every sphere of his life that characterizes his peacemaking.
Surely no one can be a peacemaker without first having found peace within themselves. So let us tell you a little bit about the Steve that we know.
Steve begins each day by ceremoniously flinging open the bedroom curtains, looking out with awe and amazement at the beauty he beholds, and proclaiming it to be
Another wonderful day in paradise.
and this is each and every morning. I'm shielding my eyes from the light and asking him to please wait until I've had my first cup of coffee. And it is exactly this particular kind of shalom, this deep reverence for life and the whole of nature, this unabashed expression of everything being fully right with the world, that resides deeply within Steve's bones, consciousness, and spirit. And it includes all life and all who live.
Whether serving a meal at the pub,
Consulting with the president of an international company,
making a new best friend on the chairlift,
or sitting on the front porch having a beer at the home of an old friend, retired from his job as a night shift gravedigger.
Steve experiences our human differences not as barriers.
But as gifts to be known and to be appreciated.
Nowhere in my dad's life is this propensity to see value in differences more apparent than in the garden. And if you know Steve very well, you also know that he is absolutely wild about compost.
He even brings home other people's garbage to add to our compost pile. And thanks to Betsy and the JRPC staff for keeping Steve in a constant supply of extra biodegradable waste. I think it's only fitting that Catherine and I close today by sharing with you our observations on composting as a metaphor for peacemaking. Compost is created out of what most would consider to be discarded waste or scraps.
This rich, fertile substance values everything, uses everything, and transforms everything.
Each time compost is made, it's different, depending on what goes into the mix.
Sometimes it can really stink. To some, in fact, compost can be downright offensive, as it lifts up, brings together, and honors what has been thrown out, hidden, or marginalized.
When this black gold is added to the garden, it becomes the nourishment that feeds new life and new possibility.
Whether it brings to life thousands of raspberries or a single asparagus, compost allows beautiful vegetation to flourish where others may have thought growth was impossible.
Ultimately, making compost is an alchemical process that takes an assortment of diverse substances and combines them to miraculously create right relationships which benefit the whole.
Just as my dad, the gardener, values the banana peel as much as the coffee grounds, and sees no inherent difference between an apple core or an eggshell, so he regards all life and each act of living.
In the words of my favorite poet, Mary Oliver, Steve looks upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and thinks of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular. Steve MacArthur, my husband,
My dad,
the eccentric
rambunctious gardener,
and guardian of all things compostable, is a man who
was born to make peace.
So this award and this day would not be possible without Peacemakers, but also without the Missoula Peace Quilters. They made the selection last fall, and so all winter long they've been working on a quilt that reflects Steve's life. Hopefully it's not made of compost. It's probably compostable, but they've made a quilt for every peacemaker, and they've also sent quilts around the world as gifts of a friendship. They've made quilts for the Peace Center, for the Poverello Center, for many organizations to try to raise funds. They make beauty, and beauty adds to our community a measure of peace and love and appreciation. This quilt is a peace quilt, in part because it reflects a peacemaker, but also because it is made lovingly by hands who are seeking to make peace with each other, with the world, adding beauty in a process that is peaceful, a process of consensus building. So they come together and make a decision about what the quilt will look like, and next week it's maybe got another couple people or a few people that didn't show up that week, and the quilt takes another little turn because the individual's idea is not as important as the whole, the idea of the group whole thinking. So this quilt, as all the quilts, are made by this amazing group of women who are peacemakers because they're quilting peace. I'd like to ask them to please stand, and let's recognize and honor their work. There are other quilters that are not here, I believe, and there are other people that have quilted with them over the years that have not. They have a table in the reception room so you can learn more about them and see many of the beautiful quilts that they've made. But at this point, I'd like to ask Judy Zizzo to come up, and this is what we've been waiting for a very long time. She's going to unveil Steve's Peacemaker quilt.
I am the one that's privileged to tell you a little bit about how the process of the quilt came about. Early on, Jan ran into one of our members and she said, really the only kind of quilt that represents Steve would be a crazy quilt. We didn't quite go in that direction. We also did not make it out of compost. Although there's a sense in which perhaps it is, because it's made of many, many, many small pieces, and that's the way the quilt is always made. Because Steve's interests are so diverse, we couldn't include everything that he's involved in. So we kind of, after a few turns one way or another, ended up focusing primarily on his interest in nature and his love of nature and the way his work and his soul, I guess I would say, is grounded in his love of nature, including all of us who are also part of nature. Go ahead, Lynn. Unveil the quote. He did tell us that one of his favorite artists is Gustav Klimt. And for a while we were going to try to do something that might look like Gustav Klimt, but that didn't end up happening.
Oh, is that gorgeous?
So I'd just like to tell you a few things that we tried to include. The mountains of Tennessee and the mountains of Missoula in Montana are inspirational to him. We have the sunrise representing the light that Steve is in our world. There's a waterfall on the Tennessee property that's very precious to him. And we also see Steve as moving through the world and the water as the nourishment of the world. The rambunctious garden, he mentioned to us in the interview that he collects seeds as he walks through the woods, and then there's a part of the garden where he just throws them, and then in the spring he finds out what grows there. So we've tried to represent that. There's also a farmhouse that's very important to him, and there's a little piece of the farmhouse as if he were standing perhaps on the porch of that house, looking out into nature. There's a little surprise on the back of the quilt, which the quilt will be on display upstairs when we're done here, so please look at the back. It's on this side, I think. So Gustav Klimt did get into the quilt because there happened to be a fabric line featuring his paintings right now. So anyway, it was a great pleasure for me to introduce the quilt and to be part of the group that worked on it. Thank you so much.
This is your time. This is your day. You can look out and say it's another beautiful day in paradise.
I've got to read this. There's no way I can get through it otherwise. I am humbled by this honor. Not many people get to hear how folks feel about them while they're still living. Thank you, Peace Quilters. Thank you, JRPC. Am I worthy? I ask myself. I think we all are worthy. I look out and I see many of who have become models for me in my life over these last 18 years here in Missoula. And I want to thank you for the collective and individual actions that have led and witnessed to peacemaking. I am blessed to have this one precious life, as Mary Oliver says. I'm blessed to have friends, family, colleagues, and yes, the clients that I've had the privilege to work with over the last 18 years as a management consultant, working on what I call the human side of enterprise. Honestly, I found it easier to be a peacemaker and a facilitator to strangers and to those I just met than it was for me to be a peacemaker to those closest to me, my friends and family. My friends and family, you are and were my guides and my teachers. Thank you. The unexpected death of my son Curtis at 28 taught me some very deep lessons about life. That love is all that matters and all that really is real. It taught me to recognize that you and I, all of us, are in this together. As a management consultant friend, Margaret Wheatley, states, relationship is all there is. My small contributions to peacemaking are all grounded in these two truths. As Bob Dylan's lyric says, you've got to serve somebody. This rings true. As some of you surmise after hearing my friends and family, I'm sort of a rambunctious gardener and see beauty in all of nature. I care less about the outcome of my planting than the process and joy of watching it all grow and being part of the whole in some small way. Being out in nature restores me. My church, in its truest form, is being outside and sharing it with others. The challenge for me has always been, as expressed best, you've already heard the E.B. White quote, but I'll change it a little bit. I wake every morning torn between my desire to savor the world and my desire to save the world. That makes planning my day difficult. I can become the frenzied activist, especially when it comes to protecting the planet, being a steward of the creation that we're all part of. And to that end, I want to encourage you to please sign the I-180 ballot initiative, which is outside. It moves to 80% renewables by 2050. And there is a petition that's out on the table. And if you haven't already signed it, please do. My friend Steve Running says, it's imperfect, but it's worth doing. So please do that. My white male privilege, along with the fact that I grew up in a family of loving parents, raised with 4 other siblings, where we all felt safe, understood, and probably most importantly, were given the freedom to follow our own path in life, that's helped set me on this path to peacemaking. I know how truly blessed I am. I am grateful beyond measure. Working in my early career as a mental health person taught me to see each person as unique and worthy of kindness and compassion. I often felt, after getting to know the story behind the person, but for the grace of God, karma, luck, fate, you fill in the word for you, go I. Working with schizophrenic clients for 6 years and at the methadone clinic for heroin addicts, all honed my sense that we're all more alike than we are different at our core. And that genetics, early life models, and life events all mark us with scars and fears we all had to overcome in order to make peace with this thing we call life. We are all connected. We need to support each other and show kindness where and to whom we can. As my friend Peter said in a sermon many years ago, we need to love as we can, not as we can't. We all have a part to play, and I'm so glad to have you on this journey with me. Thank you for this honor.
Meeting back up here, and I also want to ask the other 31 peacemakers who are present to come and join him. For those who work for peace. Please join me in honoring and thanking these, our local heroes. To come up and join them as well, because this award is both an honor as well as it is a calling to continue to be a mirror to the community as a peacemaker. So please come on and join us. So girls and Birch and Allison and Marita. If you're at all discouraged by the news that you read in the paper, this is your encouragement. This is your hope for the world. Thank you all. I encourage you to go to the fireside room and have some cake and cookies and wine and punch, lemonade, I guess, and get to know these folks and thank them personally. We're going to move the quilt up to the fireside room so you can take pictures up there. You can see the quilt, take a look at the back. We have to be out of here by 3:30 for another event, so we'll party on in the fireside room. I want to encourage you to go to our website and make nominations for Young Peacemakers, for the next Peacemaker for 2019. It's your nominations that help our selection process. And also think about signing the guest book in there for Steve up in the fireside room, and get some information about the Peace Center and some of our upcoming events like our unconference on June 9th and our Humphreys Fellow presentations starting the end of this month. So let's get on to the fireside room. Thank you all.